Good morning. I am 5 minutes earlier today. So, as usual, if you're watching in recording, you can fast forward 5 minutes or stay with us through our hellos. Good morning, Yanni. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Anne. Привет, Верочка. Good morning, Mary. So, Miji, the dog, is gone back to California, and Matryoshka is very nice and calm. For those of you who are not on Cozumel, good morning, Gina. Yes, Matryoshka is very happy to not have any dogs around. She's hilarious. Anyway, for those of you who are not on Cozumel, we are scheduled to have a tropical storm that may or may not convert into a hurricane category 1. It will be clear a little bit later today. If it, well, whatever happens, it's going to happen later in the evening today and overnight. So I don't know what's going on, what's going to happen tomorrow, if we're going to have electricity, if we're going to have internet. But, will operate as business as usual. And if anything, if you don't see me tomorrow morning, that means no internet. Anyways, it is time for us to start. So today we will continue looking at the obstacles to loving kindness, zooming in on anger as one of the states of aversion. So take a comfortable position, and as usual, take a few moments to settle, to acknowledge all the circumstances of your practice, starting with the external and slowly zooming in on your inner world. Let your breath be soft and easy without any forcing, absolutely natural. Scan your body from top to bottom. Again, just acknowledging what's happening in the body right now. Invite effortlessness into your body, mind, and heart, softening from the inside out. There is a big confusion in our society, in our day and age, about how to relate to feelings of aversion. For example, it is quite difficult to understand the difference between feeling anger and venting anger. We really touched on that already a few days ago, discussing the difference between I feel anger versus I am angry. So let's take a closer look at it now. When we undertake a spiritual practice, it is important that we open to everything that arises, that we recognize, acknowledge, accept everything we feel, even if we consider it quote unquote bad. And since we have a long conditioning of self-deception, overcoming this habitual denial and repression and opening to states of aversion that live in us can actually be quite healing. But please understand that this is not an invitation to indulge in any unskillful emotion that we notice in ourselves, anger included. It may be really quite confusing to understand this difference between not repressing an emotion, like anger, for example, versus choosing not to act on it. Really, what's the difference? So let's try to unravel that. Contemporary psychological research shows that when one expresses anger quite often, it leads to the easy expression of anger. So simply put, expressing anger becomes a habit. And many people assume that if we don't want to keep anger inside, if we don't want to repress it, we have to put it outside, express it. But somehow, if the anger is outside of us, it's not going to be inside anymore. In this line of thinking, we consider anger to be like a solid object that you can either keep inside or just take and put outside. But in reality, is this true? If we observe carefully through mindfulness and meditation, anger, like any other emotion or any other sensation, really has no solidity. It is simply a conditioned response that arises and passes away, like everything else. And it's really important to see that when we identify with these passing states as being solid, we let them rule our life, and we feel compelled to act in ways that cause harm to ourselves and others. To get out of this vicious cycle, we need to learn to rest in non-identification. Recognizing aversion or anger in the mind as transitory is very, very different from identifying with it and then acting on it. Anger is a very complex emotion with a lot of different components. There are strands of disappointment, fear, sadness, all of it woven together. So really, anger is not a solid thing. If we look closely at it, we can break it down and see its various aspects. And we can see the ultimate nature of this experience. That anger is impermanent, that it arises and passes away like a wave that comes and goes. We see that anger is unsatisfactory. It does not bring us lasting joy. We can see that anger is not really ours. We cannot possess it. It does not arise according to our will. It arises only when the conditions are right for it to arise. And we cannot control anger's arising. We can only learn to relate to it in a skillful way. If we look at the force of anger, we can in fact discover many positive aspects in it too. Anger has an incredible energy that can impel us to let go of ways we may be inappropriately defined by the needs of others. Anger can teach us to say no. Anger has the ability to cut through surface appearances. It doesn't just stay on a superficial level. Anger has the power to pierce through the obvious to things that are more hidden, and in this way it can actually be transmuted to wisdom. But nevertheless, the unskillful aspects of anger are immense, and they far outweigh the positive aspects. The satisfaction that we get from expressing anger is very short-lived, while the pain endures for a long, long time and can be quite debilitating. According to Buddhist psychology, the function of anger is to burn its own support, like a forest fire. It leaves us with nothing. It leaves us devastated. Just like a forest fire that ranges free and wild, anger can leave us in a place very far from where we intended to go. When we're lost in anger, we don't see many options before us, and we just strike out recklessly. So let's explore this together now. Take a moment to resettle. Again, briefly scan your body, noticing what's happening. Let your breath be easy. And let yourself recall the last time you felt angry. What did you choose to do at that time? Did you express your anger or did you repress it? If you look at it now from a bit of a distant position, can you break this emotion of anger down a little bit more? As you reflect on that, try not to get lost in the story itself, but rather see straight through it to the underlying sensations of possible fear, disappointment, sadness, grief behind the anger. See if you can break it down. Acknowledge that sometimes anger arises in you, and it's okay. It arises in all of us. we can learn to skillfully relate to. So gently start offering loving kindness towards yourself. Again, you can use my preferred mantra or choose your words. Mine is, may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well in body and mind. May I be happy, healthy, and at ease. May I know deep, natural peace. I'll give you a few minutes to stay in your own experience. Now slowly let that go. Take a nice inhale and exhale, coming out of your practice as gently as you came into it. As you go through your day today, I invite you to notice when and how anger arises in you. What is your impulse to express or repress? How can you relate to it in a more skillful way? As always, if you want to share your experience, you're very welcome to do so. Thank you so much for being here. Have a beautiful day. May or may not see you tomorrow, depending on the tropical storm situation. As you can see, it started pouring, but um, everything is going to be well anyway. So enjoy your day. Bye.